If you're constantly getting into fights with your partner and you're feeling unheard, unseen, and alone, or maybe your partner feels attacked, blamed, and controlled, you might have found yourself wondering this question: is my relationship toxic? Should I leave? Here's the thing, calling your relationship toxic is like calling a fire alarm annoying. The fire alarm is not the root issue. The root issue is that there's smoke in the house, and the thing that is burning is unresolved trauma from the past. But stay with me, I'll explain more, because in the next few minutes, you're going to see why those fights that you hate are actually your biggest doorway to deep healing and breakthrough. When it comes to mainstream advice, is that you'll hear things all the time that you have to cut off toxic people, go no contact, protect your peace, all an avoidance strategy of being triggered and avoiding pain you don't want to feel inside. Now I get it, it sounds very empowering, but it's also a trap, because here's the dirty truth, is that every single relationship has some degree of toxic behavior, and yes, that even includes healthy marriages and relationships. I don't care, who you listen to on a podcast or who you look up to as an influencer, they all have baggage behind closed doors. They don't show it, they don't tell you about it, but they all get into the same triggers. One person feels unheard, unseen, alone. The other person feels attacked, blamed, shamed. One person is emotional and intense, the other person is more shut down and numb. Some flavor of this is in every single relationship, whether you want to call it toxic or healthy. It is part of the human experience. And if you don't believe me, literally all you have to do is open up a history book and look at the history of cultures spanning the past few thousand years. Every culture, race, religion has a history of suffering, war, persecution, and it shouldn't be surprising that all these things that have been plaguing human history for thousands of years percolate down generation to generation, all the way down to you and me. So the problem is that slapping a warning label on normal human messiness stops you from seeing the real message that's underneath it, that your partner isn't your poison, they are your mirror. Every relationship is mirroring within itself the generational trauma that has been passed down for generations. And the relationship that you are in becomes that mirror for you. For example, if you are the person that's more the anxious, needy person, and your partner is maybe the avoidant person that just kind of shuts down, they ghost, they don't really express themselves or really communicate what's going on. You text, they disappear. You chase harder, they retreat faster. Both of you feeling abandoned. Or let's say one of you is the perfectionist and the other person is the free-spirited rebel. If you're the perfectionist, maybe you color code your calendar. Everything is planned, every T is crossed, every I is dotted. But they, on the other hand, they book a last-minute road trip without letting you know. You feel ignored, they feel controlled. Or if it's the rescuer-victim dynamic, you pay for their rent again. They promise to change again. You feel resentful for them not taking care of their own shit, because you're always picking it up for them, and they feel resentful against you for blaming them and shaming them. Or perhaps you're the critic and they are the deflector. You point out all the things that they are missing and making mistakes on, and they deflect, pass off responsibility, they're not accountable, and the more that you attack and the more they defend, the more you express, the more they ignore. All these dynamics are a tale as old as time. Learn from your parents and your parents' parents and their parents' parents, and on it goes. Why do we repeat these relationship dynamics again and again and simply really recreate what we've known from childhood? Because number one, it was familiar, and familiarity feels safe even though there's pain involved. And that means that your nervous system and subconscious, even though it saw chaos during your childhood, a part of you normalizes that and calls that home. Now, why would we normalize a childhood of unmet needs, trauma, neglect, and so on? Because that's all you had. Your mother and father or your caregivers were God to you. That's all you could depend on as a helpless child to provide for your needs. Again, this is happening subconsciously, but if they are God to you, you're gonna take their word as God. You're gonna take their behaviors as God. So how they treat you then becomes how you treat yourself. How they treat each other becomes your model for how relationships should go. Again, as a child, your subconscious is soaking all this in like a sponge and says to yourself that this is love, this is how I should relate to the world, this is how I should relate to myself. And it goes out throughout adulthood and seeks that because it thinks that that's how I should exist in this world. So the biggest thing that you have to understand is that you will seek out what is familiar because it reminds you of your past, of what is home to you. So every relationship that you get into, whether you want to call it toxic or not, will represent parts of yourself that were developed from childhood that feel familiar. And so you can see your partner as a mirror to what is unresolved that needs to be addressed so that you can create something new. So when your partner does something, says something that matches a old pain from maybe when you were 5 or 7 years old, that part of your subconscious lights up your nervous system into a fight or flight response. And then what happens is that you end up doing a behavior that you learned from childhood to deal with that emotional distress. For example, let's say your partner dismisses your feelings. Subconsciously, this reminds you of every time when you were 5 years old, maybe your father ignored and dismissed you as well. And that felt like a rejection. Your subconscious and nervous system store emotional pain. So this is what lights up when your partner or whoever does a familiar behavior that reminds you of all those moments. When you would get triggered and you respond from that triggered state, you're not responding from a place of an adult today. You are responding from the age from when you first experienced that wounding. So you might be lashing out in anger the same way you did at 7 years old. You might be shutting down, getting quiet. These are childlike survival responses. They are not adult behaviors. So at the end of the day, your fight about the dirty dishes or the late text replies, it's really about a hurt, scared little child inside that's begging to say, accept me, see me, hold me. And when you can pause long enough to be curious about this little child inside that's running the show, it gives you just enough time to process the emotion yourself and make a new choice. Now, as far as the relationship that you're in right now, or maybe your past relationships, it really comes down to two choices. You will either grow together or grow apart. If you grow apart, you will meet your next partner that will force you to grow again. Remember the mirror effect. We are magnetized to what's familiar. So if you did not get with the childhood wound that was being brought up in this relationship or the past one, you will find another relationship where you will have to face that wound again and again. Until you face it, you learn to feel through it. You learn to reparent the subconscious inner child to overcome that wound. But there is no avoiding it. There is no hoping that it won't come up. So here's a way to begin the very first baby steps of growing together. And it starts with how you deal with conflict. Number one is to name the pattern that's playing out. You can say that, hey, I noticed that when I get anxious, you shut down. And the more I do it, the more you shut down, right? Just calling it out between the two of you. The second thing that you can begin doing is to begin regulating first, talking second. That means to feel your emotions first. When you get triggered, take a moment to notice what's happening in your body. Like, oh, I feel angry, I feel sad, I feel it in my stomach. Just get into the body experience of what the emotions and feelings are happening inside and give enough time to give it attention. And that might be taking a step outside so you can do that. We can communicate that, hey, I need 5 minutes to myself. I'll be right back. Another thing you can do is to share ownership, not blame. Not to make them fix it or to blame them, but like, hey, my anxiety came up in that moment. That's why I did this, right? Just owning what happened inside you without blaming the other person or making it the other person's problem. No accusing anybody. Now, if you can't do this with your partner, you can start just doing it with yourself. Process your own emotions. You don't need them for you to do your inner work. That's the beautiful thing. In fact, you can't rely on anybody to do your inner work. You just have to start doing the inner work, period. But if you find yourself in a relationship where you are doing the work, you're trying, you're working on yourself, processing your emotions, your trauma, learning about your traits, learning what to practice and do about your emotions, and they are not on the same page, then what will happen is that you will naturally, without even trying, you will naturally grow apart. It will not have to be bitter, resentment, and fighting and all that. You will literally drift apart because you are becoming a new person and they are staying stuck in the old. And at that point, it will start to feel clear in your heart that, oh, we're not on the same path. We're living in two different planets. I see the world this way of growth, healing, self-reflection, meeting myself, and they want to be stuck in ignoring everything, right? And just repeating the same behavior patterns. And you will naturally part ways. But the beautiful thing is that you don't have to part ways out of resentment. You can part ways out of compassion. One thing that's really important right now is that there's 3 core mainstream beliefs that I need to debunk right away because they're really keeping you stuck and repeating the patterns and cycles. Myth number 1 that people say is that if it's meant to be, it should be easy. Here's a reality. Easy feels good because it's familiar, not because it's healthy. Growth is going to be awkward always because it's not what you're used to. Even being healthy, being secure is going to be awkward and strange to you. And myth number 2, just find someone who never triggers you. Right? Someone that just fulfills all your love languages, that don't trigger you, they give you all your quote unquote needs and everything is perfect. Here's the reality. You're not going to like this. That person does not exist, because the question isn't about how you trigger each other to stop the triggering. It's about how you repair afterwards, how you process your own emotions and the childhood wounds that got stirred up to the surface. They're going to come up regardless. They're meant to come up. No pain goes unaddressed and suppressed for long. It will blow up in behaviors, your body will break down, they do not stay suppressed. And so your partner triggering those emotions up gives you a chance to expose the wound for you to look at it and deal with it directly. Ultimately, free yourself of it. Myth number 3, and this is especially toxic: cut off anyone who cannot meet your needs. It's that sort of red pill, be the alpha king or be the queen energy that is very misguided, because here's the reality. No single human can meet all your needs. Those needs can never be fully, truly fulfilled from the outside. For example, do you want to be accepted? You can't get that from the outside. If you want to feel worthy and enough, you can't get that from money, success, achievement, or people. Some of the most successful, famous people that I've known, they are the most unhappy people there are because they can't fill that hole with anything outside. An emotional wound, the self-worth wound, the shame, all those pains, they cannot be filled with the outside world. And that's why I put so much emphasis on like the inner healing of meeting your trauma, meeting your shadows, meeting your hurt inner child, because that's an inside job. You have to learn to meet your own needs first before you can expect anyone to mirror that back to you. That's a beautiful thing, that when you become more secure, that gets mirrored outside you. Then you will see people accepting you, people that don't abandon you because you don't abandon yourself, right? And so on. How you treat yourself is exactly how others are going to treat you. So remember this, your relationship isn't toxic. It's a classroom. The lesson repeats until you learn it. Now the question is, do you choose to embrace the lesson fully, or do you ignore it only to repeat the same one again and again? Drop a comment right now. Let me know what you think if it resonates with you, or if you want to challenge me, drop a comment as well.